but always correct your intentions that you're doing it to be a healthier body for the sake of Allah. And remembering the hadith from our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, these long-term goals are usually very overwhelming. So start with a small goal, just to change a few things. If someone's body became, I'm picking being unhealthy as the example, because not everyone is unhealthy to begin with, but let's just say slowly over the course of 10 years or 5 years, whatever time frame it is, you slowly started to become more and more unhealthy. Well, if it took you 5 to 10 years to become the person you are now, and now you're like, wow, I got to lose 50 pounds, it's going to take a good year and a half to get back to where you were. That's realistic, because your lifestyle is the lifestyle of that person who is now 50 pounds overweight. To be that lifestyle of the person who's 50 pounds lighter, it's going to take really, realistically, a year to a year and a half. So I'm just really throwing those numbers out, because that's the problem with most people, Muslim and non-Muslim. They set unrealistic goals for themselves. That's like, for instance, in school. If you're a 75 student, you can't necessarily force yourself to be a 95 student. You would have to work very, very, very hard to go from that 75 grade student to that 95 student. It's the same thing with your body goals. So don't be so hard on yourselves. Make a goal that is realistic for you, inshallah. Number 3. Okay, so now that you know your goal, and now that you have a plan, how are you going to keep track of this? Well, the first thing you're going to do is start a food and exercise journal. Statistically, those who use a food and exercise journal reach their goals faster. It's once you put something on paper, you're committing to it. You're holding yourself more accountable. The people who don't log is because they don't want to see what they had. Or it's like, oh, I already know what I'm having. If you knew what you were having, you wouldn't have a goal to have to reach. Or if it was that easy, half of the American population wouldn't be overweight or obese. So we have to utilize the tools that we have available to help ourselves. We can't just wing it. Winging it hasn't helped anyone. Winging it is making everyone gain more and more weight. If you log it down, the same way when you have a bank account and you have your checkbook. Well, when you write a check, you log it in, and then you keep a tally of your running balance. You're not going to just write checks and not keep track of the money you have in the bank, because you wouldn't want a check to bounce. It's the same thing with your body. You want to keep an account, a track of what you're doing, because then if you ever sit with a fitness professional, you can basically analyze and see, where can I improve what I'm currently doing? Because if your body isn't changing within 2 to 3, 4 weeks, something you're doing is not correct, or something you're doing is not helping you get there. But the more that you log what you're doing, it'll help you see, how do I improve what I'm doing? Oh, wow, I forgot about that extra whatever I had. Oh, wow, I forgot I skipped that meal and then had a cupcake at school. Oh, wow, I forgot about that. Oh, yeah, that's right. When I got home, I picked in the refrigerator, or whatever it is. I'm just randomly, oh, wow, I had to go to that family party. Oh, wow, I went to that wedding. Oh, yeah. You know, you don't remember. I ask most people, tell me exactly what you ate the day before, specifically amounts. Give me ounces, give me calories, give me sizes, cups, whatever. Most people can't remember unless they've been doing this. So definitely, if you don't know what you're taking in, you're not going to know where you're going, inshallah. Number 4, so now that everybody has a food and exercise journal, now we're going to eat 4 to 5 small meals throughout the day. The average meal size would be anywhere from 250 to 400 calories. That's based on a 5-meal day. Now, if you're the person eating only 1 or 2 meals, your goal would then, if you're eating 2 meals, your goal would then be to eat 3. So again, depending on your work schedule, some people work a very long day, or some people work at night. So just to touch on that, since I mentioned that, it is a complete myth. Oh, well, I'm not gonna eat after 6. Why? Where did that come from? It's not from any nutrition professional. That doesn't even make any kind of sense, because your body works on a 24-hour clock. So if you, let's just say, okay, we're gonna stop eating at 6, but you overate by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, what difference does it make? So throw that myth out the window. But since this workshop isn't about all the food myths, I could be here from here to next week going over all the food myths. The same way that people say, oh, you'll get disease from touching the toilet seat and stuff like that. It's the same thing. But inshallah, you're able to eat smaller meals spread throughout the day and not worry about some of these myths. Now, but if we are going to talk about when you should hypothetically stop eating at the end of the day, depending on the time of day that you go to sleep, you should give yourself at least an hour before you go to sleep. And if your last meal has meat in it, it's going to keep you awake, or you're going to have broken sleep. You're going to sleep, wake up, wake up, you know. I mean, but that's a good thing. You can always pray tahajjud, inshallah. But, you know, that's a method to get you up in the middle of the night. But for the most part, you want to try to, if you're going to go to sleep, say, at 11 p.m., by 10 p.m., you would have wanted to have finished whatever you were eating. And if you're going to eat that close to your bedtime, it not be your largest meal. You know, if it's going to be your largest meal, maybe like more like 2 hours before you go to sleep, so that from a digestion standpoint, you're able to sleep and that your body's not overloaded and you don't go to sleep feeling stuffed, because it's going to interfere with your sleep, inshallah. And if you're eating small meals spread throughout the day, you should not be ending up with such a large meal at night anyway, inshallah. Okay, but again, one more thing with that, everyone is an individual. We all have different bodies, different digestive systems, different hormonal systems, and everything about our bodies function differently. What will work for your friend next to you will not work for you. Don't do what your friend is doing because it's working for them. Everything about each person is different. So inshallah, getting as close to what your body needs is what's going to help you best, inshallah. Number 5, spread your meals 2 to 4 hours apart for optimal energy, balance of your blood sugar, and satiety. That's basically to satisfy you. Just to name a few benefits of why we spread meals 2 to 4 hours apart. If your meals are small, you will get hungry between 2 to 4 hours. If you ate too much, if you find that you're not hungry past 4 hours, no matter what you ate, no matter what you think it was, no matter whether you think it was quote unquote healthy, which that doesn't really necessarily mean anything, you ate too much. Because it could be, I eat strictly organic, raw, everything for the past 20 years. I could eat the best raw organic meal. If it was too much, it was too much. It doesn't matter. Either way, you should be able to feel hunger, a natural, like, okay, I think it's time. You look at your watch and maybe 2, 3, 4 hours have passed. If the meal was too large, you won't be hungry. That means that what you ate was like 2 meals. So when you feel bloated, that's 2 meals you ate. Does that mean, oh, well, then later I skip a meal? You try to compensate for that you had a big meal, but then you try to adjust that maybe the next day or the next time you're in that situation to not do that and say, oh, okay, I found that that meal was too big for me. Let me break that up into half. Let me have half, let's just say, if it was like a lunch at 12, and then like at 3, I have the other half. Or if you buy something out, don't eat it all just because, well, I ate it. It's the portion they gave me. Every portion everywhere will be too big unless you eat in like these you know, hipster fancy places in like Soho in the city, you know, where the portions are that big, you know. But otherwise, for the most part, everywhere you buy anything, the portion is too big for a woman. So split it in half. Eat half, and then eat half 3 hours later, inshallah. Balancing your blood sugar, very key and important. A lot of people have sudden drops of energy. That energy drop can be because it had been too many hours since you've eaten. And if too many hours pass, for instance, how you feel maybe the first or second day of Ramadan from fasting, that headache, your body's just like, oh, you know, that headache is a blood sugar drop. So that blood sugar drop on a regular day that you're not fasting, you don't really want to experience that, because while your blood sugar is dropping, your metabolism is slowing down to compensate for it. Your body is a sophisticated machine. Allah made it and created it in such a great, perfect way to help itself, even if it sensed that you're starving. So by not eating for 6 hours, your body goes into starvation mode. So it slows the metabolism, so that then when you eat, because you're already starving, you're going to eat too much. Now it's going to store as fat because your metabolism was slower, and now you ate too much. It's a vicious cycle. If we get out of the cycle the same way, if I thought when I took my shahada, okay, that's it. All I got to do is take my shahada and that's it. I'm done. Good. I'm going to Jannah. No, I have to pray 5 times, at least 5 times a day. Then there's sunnah prayers, then there's nafil prayers, then there's fasting, then there's zakat, then there's all the other integrals, and then the manners and behaviors. It's the same thing with nutrition. It's not just, okay, I'm eating healthier. My body's going to change. It's just as complex as it is for me becoming Muslim. There's so much involved. If it was so easy, why isn't everybody Muslim? But that's a different story, inshallah. You know. Anyway, the main thing is you want to satisfy your body enough to keep you stable throughout the day so that your body's happy, you feel good, you have better energy, and whatever you're doing, whether it's work or school or with your family, you're more able to contend with your daily activities. Okay. Our bodies are made up of fat and everything else, being your muscle, tissue, bones, organs, hair, teeth, skin, and nails. Period. That's black and white. Now fat, you don't need to feed the fat. So our bodies need protein to feed the good stuff over here, your body mass, your muscle tissue, your bones, hair, teeth, skin, and nails. So the proteins that I listed are bone broths. Broth is basically, you have stock, like chicken stock, beef stock. Broth are bones that you cook much, much longer to get the gelatin and protein out of the bones. I don't have a link attached here, but you can easily Google making bone broth, and you can see the recipe for making bone broth so that you can benefit from that. So bone broths come from beef, chicken, lamb, or fish. Another protein source, powdered beef gelatin, which is kosher. Meats, obviously beef, lamb, chicken, turkey, and fish. Organ meats, which I should have put at the very top of the list. Liver, kidney, and heart. Essential. I put only that it's essential for anyone with anemia or any other hormonal issues. 1 to 3 times a week, 3 ounces. But for most women, we only need liver because we don't get the right amount of balance of iron that we need to stabilize our hormones. Whether you're just starting to menstruate, whether you've been menstruating for years, whether you have had children, and whether you're menopausal. Because a woman's hormones need certain nutrients to stabilize them throughout the week, throughout the month, because our hormone cycles throughout the month in a certain way, which I'm sure each of you will have different symptoms, whether you're menstruating, not menstruating, or menopausal, you're going to have different symptoms of these hormonal changes throughout the month. And liver will help you stabilize that, inshallah. Okay, then we have dairy, milk, eggs, cheese, cottage cheese, ledne, throw that in because
I've seen that all over Bay Ridge, as an office yummy too. And Greek yogurt. So basically, those are your best efficient quality proteins to have. Now, I didn't go into what kind of meat, because depending on the level of halal that a person is, I myself buy grass-fed organic, so which usually is not considered zabiha because the people slaughtering it are not Muslims, but the quality of the meat versus what I see in the slaughterhouses, for me personally as a nutritionist, I feel more confident buying organic grass-fed. The rest is really your choice, because I've gone to see how these animals are kept in Brooklyn, for instance, just down the block here, actually. And unfortunately for me, as a nutrition person and a somewhat animal activist, you know, I'm not that comfortable with what I see, the conditions of the food. So that's always something you should investigate. Go see where your meat is coming from, inshallah. Okay, then carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates, everybody's like, what do you have, what you don't have? Everything is in moderation. I'm just, again, these are the most efficient ones. It doesn't mean that if I don't mention it, it's bad, but the more you have the ones that are not on this list, they're not going to help you get to your goals. You can have them, but your result is going to take much longer. So we have fruits, apple, pears, banana, peach, plum, berry, strawberry, blueberry, raspberry, blackberry, watermelon, orange, cantaloupe, tangerine, just to name a few. Any fruit is completely on the good list. You know, even in some of the exotic fruits in the summertime, because so many fruits are seasonal anyway as well. Vegetables, zucchini, cucumber, onion, tomatoes, peppers. These are the ones listed because they're the highest in water content and the lowest. I know I'm going to get a little techie right now, and it's not on the sheet, but don't worry about it. The lowest in polyunsaturated fatty acids. So if there's anything that I mentioned that's not on the sheet and you want to know more about, I will give you my business card, and I will gladly email you personally any links to help you understand more about the things I'm talking about. So I don't want to go too techy, so to speak. Root vegetables. Potato, sweet potato, butternut squash, spaghetti squash, acorn squash, yucca is also called cassava, or any of those barky root vegetables. Plantain, green or the yellow. Sourdough bread as a bread choice, again because it has the lowest amount of what's called PUFAs, or polyunsaturated fatty acids. Rice, if you like white, stick to white. Brown is not that big of a difference than white. So it's gluten-free. I would actually probably go white over brown anyway, if that's what you like. But I wouldn't necessarily have rice every single day as your staple. You want to try to get the ones that are higher on the list, those root vegetables, because you're going to get more nutrients. Rice might be gluten-free, but it doesn't really have any nutrients. So, and if you're going to have rice on a regular basis and bread, realize that it's going to be much harder to reach your goal. But if you're going to have rice, and I keep coming back to rice because I know a lot of people here like rice, stick to a portion of a cup to a cup and a half the most. That would mean if I filled my palm of my hand, that's the portion. If you are in the pursuit of a goal, or make the goal realistic to your lifestyle so that you can work your way to that. Until you're comfortable with those kind of portions, don't kill yourself. Make your goal be realistic for your lifestyle. Don't strive for more than what you can't achieve or it's stressing you too much, inshallah. Okay, and then as a pasta option, because pasta, period, it's processed and has gluten. It's not efficient. If you want to have it, you can buy corn pasta. Not wheat pasta, corn pasta, because wheat has just as much allergen and inflammatory response. Inflammatory means inflammation, bloating. It doesn't have nutrients. It's just another way for the dunya to sell people something that they think is, what was that word? Healthy. It's healthy. So, corn pasta. But if you love anything that's not on the list or the things that I discussed as not being the most efficient, still have it. It's still your choice. It's like, if you want to pray your sunnah, you pray your sunnah. If you want to pray duha and tahajjud, you pray. That's your choice. That's between you and your body. And because our intention is to please Allah, that's between you and Allah. What you choose to do, knowing, this is like the fard. Once you know, this is the haqq. And you know, and you choose not to, it's your choice, inshallah. So, really the choice is yours, inshallah. And then fats that are the most efficient, and this, if it's not on this list, don't use it, especially as a woman. You don't want to create an unstable hormonal situation in your body. So we have coconut oil, we have butter, preferably grass-fed raw butter from the farm, like the way it's naturally made, the way Allah made it, straight from the cow, without all the processing and chemicals. None of this like, I think it's butter. Well, that I think is butter, check out how many chemicals it has. You're poisoning your body. I don't think Allah wants us to poison our body. He wants us to serve Him. So if we're poisoning our body, we're not serving Him. So inshallah, when you buy that, oh, but it's low fat. All that stuff is chemicals. It's poison. Don't buy it. It's not helping you get any leaner, is it? No. People still have diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, anemia, thyroid issues, medications like, how many medications they're taking. And the doctors, they're not educated in nutrition. They're educated to prescribe you a pill. So they're not interested in really what your food choices are. They only know what they know. They don't necessarily know what's out there. And unless we're going to the doctors in the city, like the rich people on the Upper Side, that was spending that kind of money, we're not getting great care anyway. But don't get me started on the medical system. So you have to take your health into your own hands, inshallah. So coconut oil, butter, ghee, and olive oil. If it's not on that list, don't have it. Food will taste amazing with any of those. Like the canola oils, peanut oil, safflower oil, all that. Don't use it, inshallah.
I am in the city at 7:30 in the morning, Monday through Saturday. So I don't get 6 hours all the time, but I really strive during the week, especially for those of you who work or in school or have children. Everybody has a different schedule. You want to try to get 6. And then what I do on Sunday, I sleep 10. I get up, I pray, and I jump back in bed. So inshallah, I try to make up for it on that one day that I can sleep late. But that's the luxury I have. But again, I work a lot Monday through Saturday, so I reward myself to help my body. Plus, I exercise 6 days a week. So I'm completely exhausted. Now, inshallah, for the people who get up and pray tahajjud and, get up in the middle of the night and then, a couple hours later is fajr, you try to, even if you get a nap in the middle of the day, some people can nap. Whatever works for you. And then obviously, Ramadan's around the corner. Everyone always tells me, why do you keep saying that? I'm a newer Muslim. I only think about the year because Ramadan's coming, inshallah, and I'm so excited about it. But basically, it's less than 4 months away. So that sleeping thing I talked about, 6 to 8 hours, obviously during Ramadan, there's no sleeping. So inshallah, now that it's not Ramadan, you can, even if you're sleeping, say, 5 hours, try to get the 6 hours. If you're sleeping 7, try to get 7.5. You want to try to give yourself the optimal rest necessary to digest your food. And especially if you don't sleep enough, you'll always be hungry. Your body will never be satisfied. The person who sleeps 4 hours a day, either their metabolism is really slow, they have thyroid issues, they're cranky during the day, they're irritable, and you're always hungry. So your body needs a little more sleep, inshallah. Okay, number 8, drink enough water to stay hydrated. Now, I put 6 to 8 glasses, which could be a mix of water and or juice, not the processed type, of course, since we don't want processed foods, but that'll vary from person to person. I myself, I'm an athlete. I've been an athlete my entire life. I probably can't function with less than a gallon of water a day. But that's me. I'm 44 years old, and that's how I've been since I've been 16 years old. I've been an athlete all my life, so my body doesn't know anything but to have at least a gallon a day. Plus, I exercise so much that my body's demands are higher. If you don't exercise, obviously your body's demands are going to be the least minimum. Someone who doesn't even exercise just to function, to breathe, to live, to have your organs functioning healthy, your bowel movement, you should have 6 to 8 glasses a day. Spread throughout the day. You don't have to, this is probably, what is this? This is like 10 ounces maybe. You sip. You don't have to like, oh, I haven't had any water, let me go, 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 go. No, you don't want to do that because then you're going to be bloated. And if you're not currently drinking much water, the same thing with sleep. Add a little bit more each day, because if you go from drinking 2 glasses of water a day to 8, you're going to be bloated because your body won't know how to process it. Your body has to create the ability from the digestive standpoint to process the fluid to then excrete it when you go to the bathroom. If you're not drinking water, your body doesn't have those enzymes. It's going to go, well, what do we do with this? And you'll just stay bloated. So little by little, if you're drinking 2 glasses, try to go to 3. If you're at 3, try to go to 4, and so on and so forth, until you get to the point that you're never feeling thirsty, that you're constantly feeling hydrated. Or you can also be eating foods like different fruits and vegetables that give you water, which is something very key during Ramadan, which is the more you get hydration, because we're fighting dehydration, even though our main intention is to please and worship Allah, but you want to keep your body hydrated the best you can so that you do feel better, inshallah. Okay, number 9, small portions. So basically we mentioned above, carbohydrates, protein, fats. Well, how much should you be having? I didn't go into really too much about calories other than saying meals should be 250 to 400 calories based on someone eating 5 meals a day. So pretty much your portions, protein should be 3 to 5 ounces. So if I took a chicken breast, the size of my palm, not my fingers, not the whole thing, just this part of my hand, that would be about 3 ounces of chicken. Or playing cards, like playing cards, the size of a deck of cards would be about, give or take, 3 ounces. So that's the portion for a woman. A man, it's a little different. But since we're all sisters here, we're working just specifically with what women would need. So that's your portion, size of my palm. Now for carbohydrates, like I mentioned before, if you're having something like potato or sweet potato, that's by weight. So once it's cooked, if you weigh out, say, anywhere from 5 to 6 or 7 ounces, that would be about the portion of like if you weighed a potato once it's cooked. That's probably would look like if I took small potatoes this big, like a small potato this big is probably like 2 ounces, 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces. So if I had like 3 or 4 of those, that would really be your portion. So just imagine if you're eating a lot more than that, how far off the mark you really are. So when you say, oh, but I'm doing everything and I'm this and I'm that, but if you don't know what you're taking in, because you don't log your food, and you don't know what food really is because you don't really weigh it, you've never measured it, which brings me to, in terms of weighing and measuring, you should have a food scale at home, because unless you own a deli and you slice meat all day and you know what 2, 3, 4 ounces is, there's no way for you to know what 3 ounces is unless you weigh it. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter where it came from. It didn't matter who made it. Everything in a can is preserved in chemicals. That's why it's in a can. Even if it's organic, buy it in a jar. At least something in glass is not going to have this 1 or 2 year expiration. That's another thing. If something has a really long expiration, be afraid. What is keeping it alive and from going bad for 2 years? Right? Or like these milks. Why has the milk got an expiration date in a month? It's milk. I buy raw milk. It comes in the raw milk underground from a Muslim-owned company called Uttermilk, that they're based in New Jersey. They deliver to me in Brooklyn. They deliver all over the city. But my milk in 1 week goes bad from the moment I open it. Milk shouldn't be lasting that long. It has chemicals to make it last longer. So we're not going to talk about pasteurized milk versus non-pasteurized milk, because not everybody can get non-pasteurized milk. But pasteurized milk, this is why girls are getting their menstruals at 8 and 9 years old, so much more, and developing and having other issues, and babies having food allergies, like very early, those chemicals in those formulas, all these different things put in the food. But the doctor said it's healthy. You know, soy products, avoid them. But let me go back to avoid food with chemicals. Chemicals, chemicals, chemicals. If you read the label, don't look at, oh, well, it has sugar, so I'm gonna not get it. But then it has 50 chemicals that you can't read. After the first 3 ingredients, if you can't read the label, why are you putting chemicals in your body? Why? Is that healthy? Oh, but it's multi-grain, whatever you want to call it, and it's, you know, on the label it says low fat and no trans fat. I said, but it has 1,000 chemicals in there anyway. What difference does it make? There's no laws. There's no law. The FDA and the USDA does not have enough rules to control the food industry from basically lying to people, to the point that until people start dying and they, you know, make the connection between the food and people dying, that they're going to do anything. Just because the label says anything on it, that doesn't mean anything. They're trying to make money. They're trying to sell you. They're trying to make you buy their product, like Gatorade and all those drinks. It's red and pink and green because it has a chemical to make it that way. It's basically salt and sugar with chemicals. Don't drink those things. They're harmful. Chemicals are harmful. There's over 30,000 listed chemicals with the FDA with unknown effects on the body. I don't care if it says, oh, this bread is less calories and it's got this and that, but it's got chemicals. So it basically nullifies it. It's like if I'm in the middle of my salat and I start talking to my partner next door. Invalid. Start again. Same thing. Inshallah. Okay. Don't anybody throw paper planes at me. No spitballs. I'm going into uncharted territory now. No junk food. It has more chemicals and processing than the stuff I just finished talking about. What do you think makes it taste good? Now, unless you're gonna buy, I'm gonna take something like, cause I'm picking off a Dorito chip. Okay, let's take Doritos for example. Okay, they taste really good, right? But it has so much chemicals to make it taste that way that it's so harmful and fattening that in the long run you're shooting yourself so much in the foot. If you're gonna have a tortilla chip, okay, well, let's at least get an organic one, say from Trader Joe's, that just has organic white or yellow corn, and oil that they fried it in, and maybe lime for taste or salt. go to the natural source. If you're gonna have a food like that, get to something that's a completely natural source that doesn't have chemicals, because now you're back at the whole chemical thing. One of my latest pet peeves, avoid granola bars and protein bars. They got just as much chemicals as everything else. You might as well eat a candy bar, it's the same thing. So on that note, Jazakallah khair.